Government to implement more serious action to combat the threats of drugs. Government to intervene if fuel prices keep increasing. Good afternoon, I'm Amin Carlos and you're watching News on 2. Deputy Prime Minister Dato Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi has explained while the Registrar of Societies or ROS had yet to approve the registration of the opposition pact Pakatan Harapan.
Firstly, he said the ROS had yet to receive the latest report and lists of Central Executive Committee members of the DAP, one of the component parties of the pact, following the re-election on November 12th. Secondly, he added another component, Parti Pribumi Bersatu Malaysia, PBBM, had failed to hold its annual General Assembly since it was registered and the party's application for amendments to its constitution had yet to be approved.
Biarpun ROS di bawah Menteri Dalam Negeri, tetapi saya tidak meletakkan tangan saya di dalam mereka membuat cadangan untuk menerima atau sebaliknya terhadap permohonan Pakatan.
Pakatan Harapan Chairman Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, who is also PPBM Chairman, yesterday met Home Ministry Secretary General Dato Sri Alwi Ibrahim to seek clarification over the status of the Pakatan Harapan application for registration. Recently, ROS issued a warning of deregistration to PPBM for what it cited as 3 offences, that is not holding its annual General Assembly, setting up a youth wing known as Armada, contrary to its constitution, and deferring its annual General Assembly.
And later, speaking at a press conference after chairing the meeting of the Cabinet Meeting and Committee of the Eradication of Drugs, JKMD, Dato Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid said a total of 702,319 people were arrested for drug-related offences between 2014 and October 2017. Now, he said based on the Royal Malaysia Police's statistics, 21,731 of those arrested were drug traffickers picked up under Section 39B of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952. Now, according to Dato Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid, 68 of those arrested were kingpins, while 27,914 others were foreigners. He said those arrested under the preventive detention measures numbered 3,968, while 3,336 others were detained and 252 restricted. Dato Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid, who is also Home Minister, said during the period 346 million ringgit worth of drugs dealing paraphernalia were seized, while 46 million ringgit worth of drugs were forfeited. In a statement issued after the press conference, the Deputy Premier said the meeting had focused on the implementation of a more serious action to eradicate and combat the threat of drugs. 6 proposals and 2 informative papers were discussed, including on the outcome of the enforcement program, new approaches and solutions to drug problems, as well as on the setting up of an integration school at the National Anti-Drug Agency, NADA Rehabilitation Centre. UMNO Youth Vice Chief Khairul Azwan Harun yesterday handed over a memorandum of protest to Singapore's Deputy High Commissioner Mark Neo following a statement made by the country's Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, belittling Malaysia's bid to review territorial claims over Pulau Batu Puteh.
Khairul Azwan said UMNO Youth strongly condemned the statement made by the Singapore Prime Minister, adding that such remarks could damage the good ties between both countries.
Malaysia dan Singapura punya hubungan yang amat akrab dan semakin hari semakin baik. So jangan pula, when we are really strengthening our relations between these 2 nations, these 2 great nations, with our long history that we have together, jangan pula ada yang cuba nak gugat usaha-usaha baik tersebut.
Hsien Loong, who is Singapore's People's Action Party, PAP Secretary General, touched on the country's ties with its closest neighbours, Malaysia and Indonesia, during its convention on Sunday. It was reported that while the country's relations with Malaysia will continue to strengthen, however, some issues will crop up from time to time, such as the case of Pulau Batu Puteh in Malaysia.
The Congress of Unions of Employees in the Public and Civil Services, or QPAX, is requesting for the Civil Service Department to retract a circular which prevents the hiring of new staff. Its president, Dr. Azeh Muda, said the freeze on hiring new recruits will only result in more work and burden for the existing batch of civil servants.
Dato' Azeh said because of optional or compulsory retirement, some 25,000 to 30,000 vacant positions have yet to be filled every year.
Kami dapati ramai ketua-ketua jabatan, pejabat-pejabat awam mengeluh kerana beban tugas mereka sudah bertambah. Quality of life mereka sudah tidak ada. Work-life balance yang kita nak tak ada. Sebab kita terpaksa fokus. Kerja 2 shift, kerja 3 shift, hilang mereka masa bersama dengan keluarga mereka. Jadi sebab itu kita nak supaya kerajaan beri perhatian pada perkara ini.
Dato' Azeh said this after attending the Budget Talk 2018 with the Terengganu Health Department in Kuala Terengganu, Terengganu.
The Melaka State Government has orchestrated various ways to facilitate education loan payments for borrowers through the Tabung Amanah Pendidikan Negeri Melaka, or TAPIM. Now, this includes pay cut schemes and the Employees Provident Fund, or EPF.
Kita mencari satu titik pertemuan, win-win situation. Dia bayar dengan keadaan senang hati, menyempurnakan tanggungjawab dia, dan kita pun mendapat bayaran kita balik. Supaya kita dapat menggunakan bayaran balik ini untuk pelajar-pelajar baru. Kita menambah pengambilan pelajar baru.
For years, since 2000 until December 2016, TAPIM incurred areas on outstanding loan repayments of 13.9 million ringgit involving 4,624,000 borrowers. 210 of them had never settled their loans amounting to 1.65 million ringgit. Currently, TAPIM has 14,083 active borrowers for all levels of studies in institutes of higher learning.
The Transport Ministry is confident of achieving 1.3 million public transport ridership daily in the Klang Valley by year end. And Minister Dato' Sri Liao Cheong Lai says he is confident of meeting the target, especially taking into the account the current average, which is around 1.2 million passengers. And comparing the model share of public transportation in the Greater KL area in 2010, which was only at 10%, Dato' Sri Liao said this has increased to 23% this year. Meanwhile, Dato' Sri Liao added that as many as 665,875 cruise passengers arrived at Malaysian ports since October. He added that this was proof of the country's strong economic growth and the ability of the ports to operate efficiently and effectively. On another note, the Transport Ministry also plans to reduce the fatal accident rate from 2.5 to 2.29% of 10,000 vehicles this year. The public need to be made aware of the dangers related to sexual crimes against children and must come forward if they come across any case related to it. And patron of Kor Wanita Kota Kuala Lumpur, KWK, Tan Sri Sulaiman Muhammad, said there are still many who were afraid or shy to make the report, even though there are laws to protect the victims. Now, Tan Sri Sulaiman Muhammad explained that the Sexual Offences Against Children Act 2017, which came into force on 10th July 2017, further protects children from becoming sexual crime victims, including those within cyberspace. In his speech when officiating the Wacana Janaya Kanak-Kanak organized by KWK in Kuala Lumpur, he said that the community should also assist the government and other parties involved in sharing information to combat child sexual crimes. The discourse saw the participation of 3 invited guests as panels, namely from the non-governmental organization NGO, the Royal Malaysian Police and the Social Welfare Department, to talk about awareness and prevention of crimes against children among parents and the community. And also in attendance were single mothers, housewives, women's protection organizations and pensioners. Well, 3,885 units of online gambling machines were seized around Petaling Jaya and disposed of between January and October this year after receiving court orders. And Selangor Police Chief Dato' Pahlawan Mazlan Mansoor said the machines totaling 2.3 million ringgit were seized in 628 raids conducted during the 10-month operation.
Cara umumnya tindakan dalang-dalang ini kita punya hala tuju ialah bersama-sama dengan Bukit Aman. Okey, bagi melumpuhkan sedikit di sebalik perjudian, semua perjudian online dan sebagainya. Jadi setakat ini kita ada di bawah POKA, secara umumnya ada beberapa tangkapan dari sudut POKA.
A total of 609 people, including security guards and customers, were also arrested. Meanwhile, 22,115 ringgit confiscated from the disposed online gambling machines were handed over to the government through a consolidated fund. Datuk Pahlawan Mazlan said this in a press conference held at the Ara Damansara Police Headquarters, Petaling Jaya.
A man in his 40s and his 3 children were found dead at Perdana Heights, Sungai Petani, Kedah yesterday. And the body of the victim was found hanging in the upper room of the double story of the house they were living in, while his 2 sons, aged 5 and 6, and an 8-year-old daughter were found on the bed in the same room. And Kedah Criminal Investigation Department Chief Senior Assistant Commissioner Muir Farid Al-Atrash Wahid said the bodies were found by a relative at about 1:30 p.m. The man was identified as S. Sivarao, while the children were identified as daughter Yamunashri and sons Shazvin Rao and Raghuram Rao. It is believed that the man's wife ended her life barely 3 weeks ago in the same room. Muir Farid said the cause of the incident is still under investigation, and Muir Farid said initial investigations had also led police to believe that Sivarao chose to kill his children and himself as the family had been suffering from financial problems. The driver of a trailer transporting raw iron ore was killed on the spot after his vehicle fell into a ravine along kilometer 83, Jalan Aring Sungai Gawi in Hulu Terengganu yesterday. And the victim, identified as Jagannathan Anak Lelaki Batu Malai, aged 38, comes from Desa Latanai, Shah Alam, Selangor, Hulu Terengganu. Police chief says, DSP Muhammad Ali Mat Daud said the lorry was on its way from Guam Musang, Kelantan to Kuantan Port. Now, the incident is believed to have occurred at a bend in Bukit Kawa after the driver lost control and crashed into the road divider before falling into 30 feet deep ravine. Firefighters from the Hulu Terengganu Fire and Rescue Department took 3 hours and 20 minutes to extricate the victim, and he was confirmed dead at the scene. The victim's body has since been taken to Setu Hospital for autopsy. Petronas Dagangan Berhad, which currently holds 50% of the liquefied petroleum gas or LPG market in the country, remains positive on the LPG industry in the country. The company is committed in maintaining its position as the leading player in the LPG market in line with the growth of the market each year.
Its head of LPG Business Division, Ramzul Hakim Ramli, said this is based on the increase in number of customers in line with the population growth in the country.
Normally for LPG, the market growth is depending on the population growth. So I think population of Malaysia is growing. So we see there's a growth in the market.
Ramzul Hakim said that Petronas trading LPG sales through the digital platform is also continuously growing. To date, the gas reservation application, Gas to You, recorded over 9,000 downloads with over 100 registered shipping agents since its launch in October.
The government is aiming to encourage at least 10,000 small and medium enterprises, SMEs, to join the Digital Free Trade Zone, or DFTZ, next year. International Trade and Industry Meeting Minister Datuk Seri Mustafa Mohamad hopes that at least 100 of these SMEs will include entrepreneurs from Kelantan.
Datuk Seri Mustafa said out of the 1,972 registered SMEs nationwide, only 16 or less than 1% are from Kelantan.
Kita akan adakan usaha-usaha yang khusus di Kelantan ini untuk menambah bilangan ini supaya ia melebihi satu angka, lebih 100 lah, terlalu sikit sangat di Kelantan ni. Kelantan antara paling kecil dan ini penting kerana untuk menembusi pasaran luar, pasaran dunia ni, untuk berjaya yang terbaik ialah melalui online. Dan Alibaba ini adalah syarikat yang ternama di dunia dalam bidang ini. Jadi kita insya-Allah akan membimbing lebih banyak lagi PKS Kelantan supaya bilangan 16 ini akan bertambah dengan ketara.
Until June this year, the Malaysian Investment Development Authority, MIDA, had approved a total of 292 manufacturing projects worth 6.5 billion ringgit in Kelantan. Datuk Seri Mustafa said the investment had helped in creating over 38,000 job opportunities and spur the state's economic growth. He added that the ministry would provide guidance to SME entrepreneurs in the state to encourage them to expand and capitalize on online business opportunities.
The government will intervene if fuel prices of RON 95 and diesel exceed 2 ringgit 50 cent per litre for more than 3 months in a row. Now, RON 95 and RON 97 petrol are currently at 2 ringgit 38 cent per litre and 2 ringgit 66 cent per litre respectively, while diesel is retailing at 2 ringgit 25 cent per litre. Now, the Finance Ministry in a statement said that steps will be taken to ensure that the people are not burdened by rising fuel prices. And the ministry said the government's move to rationalize fuel subsidies based on the fall or rise of global crude oil prices has successfully trimmed wastage and allowed for targeted subsidies to be given out. It added that local retail prices for RON 95 petrol and diesel take into account both global crude oil prices and currency exchange rates. The current mechanism to determine prices is based on a weekly system where the prior week's average change in costs for petroleum products will determine the price for the following week. The Works Ministry said that the indefinite freeze for luxury property developments and commercial buildings is a flexible move taken by the government. Its Minister, Dato Sri Fadillah Yusof, said that approval will be considered for projects with high demand at strategic locations.
They have to study that. That's why it's not a stop work order. What the government is doing is to send a message to the developer, you have to study. Betul-betul tak diperlukan, will there be a market to it or not? So it is not a blanket stop order in terms of development.
Dato Sri Fadillah said the development of luxury homes in developed or major cities are in high demand, especially from expatriates. He was commenting on the Cabinet's decision to freeze the development of luxury homes and commercial buildings with effect from November 1st to address the problem of excessiveness.
And that concludes this afternoon's edition of News on 2. In our top story, government to implement more serious action to combat the threats of drugs. Join us again at 7 tonight for more updates. Till then, I'm Amin Carlos, and thanks for watching. Good afternoon.